what was the most productive sort of process for you? Is it speaking to mentors, if you like, or colleagues that you're working with facing the same challenge?
What really helped is when that team had a really thorough, rigorous, fair income debriefing process. And if you did that, you could have confidence in what you did right and what you did wrong and what you can do next. I got from it was to ask the players who I trusted what they thought that, should have been done differently. And the candid ones tell you the truth. And they're as good as anything because they're on the ground. They feel it. You see it. Add the two together, you normally have a pretty good process.
What would be some things that you want to see over those 2 weeks to ensure that you're confident, they're ready to play?
There's a couple of pillars to this, isn't there? There's the repair, remodeling, reconditioning component physically, but then there's the confidence piece that rehab needs to hit. I've always had a kind of a principle of having 2 weeks of team training before they play at the end of that second week. So a 2-week process, battle testing the position, action, mechanism that got them hurt. So if someone's chasing a kick, they've had to swerve and slow down, can they do that? Again, that's as much as confidence as anything else. Confidence piece. There'd be a whole load of kinetic markers that you'd want ticked off that within or exceed the baseline levels that you might have had from previous assessments.
And how do you measure your technical model? Was that with iPhone filming?
Well, yeah. Like ideally, you've got one. You've got those technical models in place for when they're healthy. So you know what their bandwidths are when they're technically healthy. When I say healthy, they're performing, training fully, whatnot. And then if they get injured, you can reference through stages of your return to play how they're operating those tasks versus the technical model when they're, I'll quote Bill Knowles, they're athletically normal. So you're just keeping that eye on the whole time, and you're using video, high capture video. Like for me, the iPhone is as good as anything, but there's AI now, isn't there? There's view motion, there's breakaway, there's things that you can use like that. But I've always just used my iPhone because my personal technical model is come from people that weren't using AI. It might be from people that you trust. You can use AI by all means, but I've got a technical model in place for these things that I know what I think is an extreme issue or something that needs to be addressed or something that I think is acceptable. And you're just tracking them almost in those initial weeks, you're filming them every time they run.
What would be a good example of a classic case of what you'd see in terms of those special sort of strength exercises used with a hamstring strain?
So for me, the special exercises are on the field in gait. Like for me, it's not, it might be something that is putting the hamstring under a lot of pressure. That's a gait modified drill. It might be a very close generational exercise to running. That might be a high speed dribble. It might be a scissor band bleed. It might be like an in and out sprint. So they're putting the hammer down, they're floating, and then they're going again, which often might be the case if you're playing on the edge and you've got to slow down to readjust to then go again. If you're especially putting pressure on another kicker, or if you're trying to track the ball in flight, those types of drills are pretty close motor skills to what you want to be doing when the ball's involved. But they're a little bit more stable, a little bit more closed loop. And I would use those for hamstrings, especially the velocity, the contact times, the stride lengths are virtually the same as what they're going to be experiencing when they're put under that much pressure in the field.
How would you manage a young athlete? Maybe it's their first hamstring strain compared to an elite athlete that, is a bit of an experienced athlete and competing professionally.
The difference between the youth and the experienced athletes is that maybe the experienced athlete doesn't need quite so much work getting to that stage as the youth athlete might. They've got the development athlete's got a much bigger training history. They've got the experience. They'll have certain efficiency and pacing strategies. You know that their capacity for their sport is going to be higher. So there won't be then quite so much need for some of the more general work that you feel that some of the capacities in the youth athlete might be lacking. I'm assuming that an experienced athlete's got a pretty stable technical model in any of the actions that are important to his game, whereas a developing one that might need to be addressed a little bit more aggressively, especially if you think there's some aberrations here that puts that player under reoccurrence risk.